everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the 2019 Toyota Sequoia. So as always, we're going to do a quick walk around on the Sequoia, then we're going to take it out to see how it drives. A big shout out and thank you to Larry H. Miller Toyota here in Murray for providing us with the vehicle. If you are stopping in for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. The biggest question here is, do we back it up or do we take it down the hill? Kind of want to take it down the hill, but I know I shouldn't. Under the hood here of the 2019 Toyota Sequoia, we have a naturally aspirated 5.7 liter V8. That's all going to be routed through a 6-speed automatic transmission. In terms of power outputs, you're going to get 381 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque. And then fuel economy is going to be 13 around town and 17 on the highway. I don't normally film this, but I am going to film me lowering the hood, and that's because this is kind of like more of like an old school setup where it pulls up the whole thing like what old school trucks used to do. But finishing things up, we do have these nice LED lights up front for the accents. It is reflector LEDs up front for the rest of it. You do get LED fog lamps on the premium Sequoias, and then you're gonna get these little parking sensors on the front with the nice chrome accents there, and then you can see the Toyota logo front and center. Around the side here on the Sequoia Platinum, we're gonna have 20-inch rims, and those are gonna be wrapped in 275mm tires. You can see the running boards just down the side with that little chrome little kind of thing on the side as well for stylistic purposes. And let me actually take a step back so that you guys can see kind of like the side profile of the Sequoia here. Now stepping out back, this is the key fob for the Sequoia, so pretty standard lock and unlock function on it, and then you have a release for the tailgate, so I'll hold that down and the tailgate will open up. It is a full power lift function. And now that the tailgate's open, let's actually walk inside to look at the back area here. So we pull this up, that's some extra storage space for you. And then you can see you can actually lower down the seats here in the rear. So if we press this, that'll power lower down the seat. But then at the same time, you can power raise it up as well, which is a really neat function. And then there's a little like charging station back there. If you do want to close the rear hatch, there's a button right here that you can basically hold it at. But if you want to fully close it, you can also just press the button on the key fob, hold that back down, and that will slow lower down the tailgate. Finishing things in the rear, we've got these incandescent lights in the rear for the reverse and for the taillights and brake lights. There's some little reflectors below. More parking sensors are integrated into the rear bumper. Got a little receiver hitch with all the proper plug-ins. And here's, let me step back so you can see kind of like the whole rear of the Sequoia. Now coming around to the back here, we can look at the door panel for the rear, pretty standard. So they've got some soft touch here with this trim that looks like wood trim. You can see the sound system down below. And then we've got the seats right here. So these are all the functions you can do in the seats. It's labeled right there on the side. And more of the leather with some contrasted stitching. You get a cool center console back here in the Sequoia, so extra storage on the top right there, and then you do get your controls for the heated seats in the rear. There's some cup holders. There is a separate climate back here as well, tons of legroom, and then we can see up above we've got some TVs for the rear passenger just right there in the center. Now coming up to the front here on the Sequoia, we can see the door panel for the front is pretty similar to that of the rear, but you do get this little like storage compartment thing. It's basically supposed to be like an ashtray, I imagine. Window controls are up here. Those are your door lock and unlock. Memory seat function right there on the side. You can see the speakers for the sound system again. All of your power adjustments for the seat are going to be right there. I kind of like these front seats. Bolsters are really, really wide, so pretty much anyone would be able to fit in these seats very, very comfortably. And then before we pop inside, here's your pedal layout just down below. That's for your tailgate release, your lights, mirror controls, and then that's the power fold in the mirrors if you would want to do that as well. Stepping in, step in height's actually really good. Those running boards make getting in and out a lot easier. But to start up Sequoia, gotta stick the key fob in there. Watching me fumble with it. Turn that over though, and the gauges will do a little bit of a sweep. It gives you a kind of graphic there that says Sequoia on it. Now there's quite a few functions here on the steering wheel. So you've got your cruise control just right back there. That's for the little center stack. We'll go over that momentarily. Then you've got some safety tech. So blind spot monitoring. This has the lane departure assistance, forward collision warning, rear cross traffic alert, Finally said that proper. And then over here we've got all of our controls for the Bluetooth phone controls, all of that on this side. And then the steering wheel is power adjustable. It's just that little lever back there, and that'll power adjust the steering wheel up and down. Got some wood trim on the top and the bottom of the steering wheel, and then leather with some kind of stitching right there in the middle. Moving over to the gauges here, over on the left side they've got the tachometer, on the right side they've got the speedo, and then in that center they've got that center screen, and here's a bunch of different menus that you can go through. I'm just going to scroll through these menus for you guys so you can kind of look through them. Feel free at any moment to pause the video if you kind of want to get a little bit more in depth on some of these little screens that basically you can go through, but it's pretty configurable right there in that center stack. Now over here we've got our button for our parking sensors, stability control, and then we press this and you're like, what's going to happen? Boom, power rear sliding window. I love that Toyota does that. And then you just have to pull that up to raise the window again, and then that will fully close the rear window so that it is closed again. But I wish that more manufacturers would release that on SUVs and cars. Now coming over here onto the center screen, we can see there's a bunch of analog buttons on the side here. It does double as a touchscreen. There's a little CD player at the top right there, but pretty standard, so you can do your texting, calling, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff through this screen system. Navigation is going to be in here, your audio, it's pretty standard setup. And then if we do pop it into reverse, backup camera is going to pop up. It's got some trajectory lines, has a little red line there to show you're about to hit something. Now we've got the rest of our climate controls right here. You can control the rear climate from the front, but you can see we've got our heated ventilated seat controls right here at the bottom. All of your dual zone climate controls for the front. It's climate controls over there. And then actually over on the side, we've got our shifter from your two-wheel drive, four-wheel high, and then your four-wheel low. There is a little tow haul mode here. There's lockers right there as well. And then you see that you can manually raise or lower the rear of the vehicle. And then you see there's different suspension settings. So you've got your comfort versus your normal versus your sport suspension setting as well. Pretty standard shifter here for the 6-speed automatic transmission. There's a dual shift mode if you want to shift the gears yourself. Cup holder is just right over here, and there's a little mini cup holder. Not sure what kind of drink would fit in there though. But if we pop over here, center console, full leather on the top. It's actually pretty soft, but this thing is massive. I mean, you could hide a whole person in here almost. Quite a bit of storage space over all there. And speaking of storage space, you do get a dual glove box, which not a lot of manufacturers offer that in their vehicles. So it's nice that they have this dual glove box set up so you can store a bunch of things up front. Now looking up top, we've got our controls here for the sunroof. Pretty standard sunroof right here. So it's not a panoramic unit. The little DVD player gets in the way of that, but lets a little bit of extra light into the cabin, and all the controls for that are going to be over here. And speaking of stuff up here, you can see on the mirror, I don't know if it's coming through the camera, it tells us what direction we are pointed towards. Wrapping things up on the Toyota Sequoia, the interior on this is actually pretty nice. It has this nice durable feel that Toyotas are known for. But that all being said, let's take the new Sequoia out to see how it drives. Starting off on the drive with the Sequoia after I literally just made a 1,000,000-point turn. If you guys knew how hard it was to get out of that parking space, then, well, you'd understand. So we are really setting off in the Sequoia now. And first off, what I'm noticing is ride quality is actually pretty smooth on the Sequoia. Looking through the cabin, visibility throughout the Sequoia is pretty good. Again, third row gets in the way a little bit, but just fold those seats down if you don't have one in the car, and then that'll fix that. The blind spot monitoring helps out with people in your blind spots, but kind of overall, visibility is really good in the cabin. Now as we take a turn up here, we're kind of going to get a little bit with the steering feel on the Sequoia. So the steering is super, super light and effortless. There's quite a bit of play in the steering, but I mean, that gives you that light and effortless feel. But other than that, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to it. It's just a pretty comfortable steering rack. With ride quality and road noise, there's not a whole lot of road noise that comes through in the cabin. Like I said, this ride's really smooth. It just has this nice kind of like floating along the road feel. Visibility over the hood too is actually pretty good. You get this kind of like nice above the ground, like kind of king of the road feel in the Sequoia. It definitely has this big, solid, stable feel to it. Let's get a little acceleration with this bad boy V8. Yeah, I mean, it's adequate power for the Sequoia. I don't really have the feel that I would need more power than what this has already. And the transmission actually does really well, so that 6-speed automatic goes to the gears quick enough that it gives it kind of like a nice smooth ride feel. It doesn't jerk you around with the gear shifts or anything like that. To sum things up with the 2019 Sequoia, again, if you're looking for kind of like a bigger third row SUV, this is definitely one of the cooler routes to go for. It has some cool off-road tech to it, similar to the Land Cruiser that I just recently reviewed, but this is significantly less expensive than the Land Cruiser. So, you know, budget-wise, if the Land Cruiser didn't fit, the Sequoia would definitely be a great runner-up. But that being said, like, if you're in the market for kind of like a bigger, you know, sized third row SUV, and you know, something that's really comfortable, that has a good towing capacity, that can fit a lot of people, the Toyota Sequoia is definitely one of the options that you'll have to check out. And there we have it, everyone, the 2019 Toyota Sequoia. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and again, big shout out and thank you to Larry H. Miller Toyota here in Murray for providing us with the vehicle. If you're on the market for a Toyota, definitely check them out. But as always, if you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you thought, and then I will see all of you in that next video. I want to take it down that curb so bad, but I know it's not the right thing to do.